Back in 2016, we were approached by the Lilly Endowment really around one question, which was, what do young adults want out of faith? What is the question that's burning in their hearts for meaning? What is their big why? And are the churches responsive to it? And what we found was that the things that young adults wanted out of churches actually provided. So young adults wanted a place to spiritually grow. They wanted places that centered questions of justice. They wanted places that asked questions about wholeness and healing. They wanted questions about God to be asked, in the very beginning of things. So in a sense, what we found is if churches would just be churches, young adults would be really excited about it because there was an authenticity factor that young adults really are crying for. They want churches to be real. They want to be real about the questions they ask, where the money goes, who's in leadership, what are they struggling with. And if we could unveil some of those things, we found that young adults are really attracted to churches after all.
I think it's been a place where people can be honest, be vulnerable with each other, but more importantly, to be vulnerable with God. And I think that's been what's amazing, because I think it's in that vulnerability and that honesty that God is able to work through their lives and really work through their communities as well. The honesty, the safe space for them to have these discussions has been really a catalyst for growth in their lives.
Churches are one of the most profound opportunities that people can have to change the community they live in. There are very few organizations out there that have the capacity to turn instantly to meet the needs of a community with unbelievable outpouring of volunteer support, of building resourcing, of willingness to engage diverse populations. Very few things can do it with the speed and the efficiency as churches. But churches have stopped doing that. And so as somebody who works and teaches in ecclesiologies, the kind of what is the form of the church, the theology of the church, I began to see churches really floundering. And I find that really sad because these are great organizations that young adults can find meaning in. So this attracted me to the work.
There was pastors that didn't believe in the youth, that it started to fall apart. People grow up, they move away, but you could kind of see that the groups aren't staying at their normal size. They started deteriorating.
It matters that we're losing 20 and 30-year-olds, and we need to do something about it. And so I was very excited to be a part of a team to dream about what rebuilding a young adult ministry would look like, and doing it maybe in a different way than before because this generation is different, life is different now. So it's been kind of an exciting time of rebuilding and exploring and trying different things.
Church is something I'm passionate about. At the same time, it's something you have to understand. It's always changing.
Some of the things that really jump out to me when I think about the rewards of this work were just seeing how pastors or young adults or congregations really came alongside one another and supported one another. And I think that this work really bridged that gap in some ways and led to a greater exchange of ideas and support within the greater Seattle area. So I was very encouraged by that.
So I fell in love with the church in a new way. I saw what the local church can do. I was reminded yet again of what it means to be a pastor, what it means to love Jesus and to love God's people. And quite frankly, the movement of the Holy Spirit. One of the things that I loved is in many of these congregations that were across these diverse theological backgrounds, Episcopalian, Lutheran, Presbyterian, Methodist, non-denominational, Pentecostal, urban, rural. I mean, these diverse congregations of different sizes and different histories, all of them were listening to the Holy Spirit in a new way, right? And this is a really important thing I think people need to hear, is that God is doing some great stuff right now. Whenever I got worried about the church, I remember the churches I'm working with, and they reminded me that this is important work.
There's no competition of who can be a better Christian and how young adults can be better Christians. It's about how are young adults already filled with the Spirit right now and God is moving here with them right now. How can we see it and provide opportunities and room for them to go forth with the Spirit that's already so alive. I think that kind of trust and belief in us, not just us, but in like young adults in the whole community, that's like what's so powerful and human, like it's just human.
In the past 4.5 years, as we round out the 5th year of our work as Pivot Northwest. We've been invited by the Lilly Endowment, along with the 11 other hubs that are doing this work nationally, to continue this work. So we are currently moving our work to the next phase, which will begin in 2022, which we are going to be calling PACE from Northwest, which is to take the work that we've been doing as Pivot and then start to kind of really center on young adult leaders themselves. Who are the kind of the accelerant, excited young adults that we've been working with over 4.5 years? And how do we take them now to a place where they can work with each other, energize each other in cohorts, and then really take that learning out to the greater communities. So we're going to be spending time over the next 4 years going public with the things that we've learned, telling our story, allowing the people that we work with to be the face and the truth of this work that we've done.
And I think that model of seeing younger people and investing in them and then stepping aside and actually being willing to make sacrifices and trusting that they have something to offer is a really beautiful model. And because of that, I stayed engaged in the church. I felt like I have a meaningful role to have here, and I want to do that for other people. I want to do that for young adults, and I hope that that's what we can do at our church. The investment of time and the willingness to trust people and actually pass leadership onto them, that's a really risky thing to do, but I think it's a necessary thing for developing young adults and keeping them engaged in the church.
So this PACE work is going to be centering preparation, that's the P, which is how do we prepare and bring the tools that are being asked for by young adults for this work. A is going to be activism, because one of the things that we're seeing is one of the core ingredients of what young adults are looking for is an activist and prophetic voice. C is church. It's just how do we see the church as a living, breathing organism by which to do this work. And so as we go into then the engagement part, E, where we actually go publicly with this stuff, the young adults that we're going to invite, we're going to allow them just to tell the story in their own way. And so we want to get out of the way and just kind of figure out ways to create better amplification. So we'll be doing more podcasts, we'll be doing public events throughout the region to really tell that story of what's been happening in the region. And hopefully in the future, as this legacy moves forward, we're going to see more and more churches adopting this young adult view of things that we can get this story out to a bigger audience.